this edition of MTGA Tasting Notes. This is a special one. This is one I've been excited to do as we've been doing more tasting videos and kind of more informational stuff about how we make our wines, what we expect from them when we release them, and kind of all the ins and outs of what we're trying to go for in terms of our style. This round of tasting notes, we're going to get into our 2016 Napa Valley Merlot. And at this stage, 2016, we talked a little bit about it in our Pinot Noir video as well, that it was a big vintage, lots of intense flavors, lots of stuff going on in these wines. And for me personally, getting into this vintage, it was the first time I really felt like I was a real winemaker. Believe it or not, it was our 7th harvest officially. We had been at it and making Merlot. This was going to be the 7th Merlot that we were going to release, and my lucky number happened to be 7, so maybe it's just coincidental. But it was that first year where I was like, I can line this up and I can knock it down. And it really truly felt that way, whether it was the Riesling we were producing, the Pinot Noir, the Merlot, everything. It was finally like, we got it, we're really doing this thing. And the Merlot being our flagship and what we're best known for, and we still today make the most of what we make is Merlot. It was so great to see the flagship really become, it kind of hint this new, really great benchmark. And we get asked all the time, what is your favorite vintage? What are you drinking right now? And to be honest, we drink a little bit of everything. I mean, whether it's going back to older vintages of our Riesling, all the way to current releases of our Cab and everything in between, we're constantly trying our wines, kind of measuring them up against one another, kind of seeing what we like, what we want to work on, and where we want to take this program as we continue to grow and evolve. And I feel like 2016 was and has been kind of the new benchmark year for us. It was really something that I think exemplified what we're trying to do with MTGA as far as, stylistically, what we're trying to do with these wines, where we want them to be, kind of the grand scheme of Napa and the vineyards that we're sourcing these grapes from. So many of you know our Napa Valley Merlot has come from a couple of different vineyard sites over the years. 2 spots in particular, both owned by the same family, the Castellucci's. One has been off of Zinfandel Lane, so just a little bit south of St. Helena, right on the St. Helena-Rutherford border, basically. And the other has been off of Pope Street, right outside of downtown St. Helena, a little bit closer to the winery where we make the wines. And over the years, we have shifted a little bit more to that St. Helena site off of Pope Street, because it just kind of exemplified a little bit more what we wanted to do with the wines. That Rutherford site just was kind of a little bit more austere than what we were looking for, a little earthier, as you might expect, coming from that Rutherford area. It's well known for that dusty, earthy kind of characteristic, and we wanted to really lean more towards what the St. Helena proper fruit was giving us. And 2016 was a year that we made a little bit more of that switch, where we went much heavier on that Pope Street property. And I'll tell you what, I love some of our past vintages, but this 2016 was something that was like, yep, this is it. This is what we're trying to do. This is where we want our Merlot program to be for the foreseeable future. This is the new benchmark. So this was harvested in 2016 with the whole goal of, we have a pretty good idea of where our Merlot program is, where we want it to be. And so now we need to make sure that we keep it there. And the prior years I still love, 2015 all the way back, amazing wines that I still drink a lot of. 2011 might be my favorite still to this day. But 2016, when it came in, it was a very kind of clean-cut, easygoing harvest season for us. Everything had a very nice kind of clean order to it, where the Riesling came in first, our Pinot Noir came in next, Merlot came in last, and it was this nice just kind of ebb and flow of kind of the craziness that does happen during that time. And the thing that really stuck out about this Merlot as we got through the fermentations, got it into barrel, and started the aging process was how complete it was at a young age. It was a wine that was just clicking on all cylinders really early on. And that was something that, generally you have a few lots like that, where something just kind of stands out. It's a little more complex. It's, a little more intense than maybe some of the other barrels that you have laying around. But this one in particular, it was like, man, these are all like right where we want it. Like, this is, did I do this? Was this my doing? Are we actually like finally doing this the right way? Or you know, whatever. It was one of those kind of out-of-body experiences as a winemaker, where everything just seemed to like move forward in the best way possible. And we were so happy with how this 16 Merlot has shown since we released it. Now, very typical of our Merlot, it's something that sees just a little bit of new oak during its time aging. You know, it normally spends about that 22-ish month range in barrel, and then a whole nother year in bottle before we finally release it. And it really allows it to smooth out, gain a little richness, a little more depth, a little more complexity. Because even though it is Merlot, it can be a very big wine. This is still something that I throw into blind tastings with Cabernet all the time, just as a ringer for folks. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't pick it up, which is a lot of fun. But this Merlot, the big difference kind of compared to prior vintages is that we went a little heavier on the new oak in this particular year. We added about 10% more new oak than what we typically use. It was used to be closer to about 20%, pretty low, and especially for Napa. And we upped it to about 30. And the reason for that was really to just let it get a little bit more depth, a little more complexity, especially from that Pope Street property. Prior to this year, it was closer to like 24 to 26 months aging. This was closer to 22. So we almost like reversed it. We said, all right, we're going to shorten up the aging time, but add more new oak as opposed to less new oak and more aging time. We kind of switched a few things around. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I can barely keep track of it. Hopefully you can. But long story short, it allowed for the 22 months that this was in barrel to basically just get right to where we wanted it. I mean, again, it was one of those years where we felt like we had just lined it up and we just got to knock it down, which was amazing. And early on, I mean, even with this wine when it was a baby, just going through barrel, you know, the barrel aging process, you have these really nice, darker characteristics, you know, some of that, you know, fresh blackberry, something that we had, growing up. There's a fence line off the Con Valley property where my grandparents lived that it was a blackberry thicket, and every summer it was pie, it was ice cream, it was just eating as many of them as you could. And that is something that I just pick up naturally in this wine. It's just like, I barely get my nose close to the glass. I'm like, yep, there's blackberry. But also, if you think of your blueberry, it kind of gets a little bit away from those red fruit characteristics, gets a little bit darker. You do get a touch of that toastiness, those nice oak characteristics, a little bit darker, you know, a little bit of those like chocolatey, and even, you know, some of the, you know, almost like butterscotchy kind of characteristics to it, which is kind of that nice underlying tone just to kind of lift it all up. And this is a wine that is very typical of Merlot. It just goes. You know, well-made Merlot, and there's just a few of them in Napa, ours included, I like to think, that it's just solid. Like there's no peaks or valleys to the wine. There isn't like, oh, it's really big up front, but it falls off, or vice versa. It's just this nice, even-keeled, coat your mouth, and it's just yummy. It has that X factor. It just is like, that's just a good red wine. And that's something that we've always wanted from our Merlots. We wanted it to be that you could pop this sucker open going out to a nice dinner, you know, celebrating a special occasion, or you could just need a big glass of red wine after a long day, and this will fit any of those situations. That's really been the goal of our Merlots. We wanted it to be that nice big flavor, but something that you could just lean back in a chair after a day of doing whatever you were doing, and you can take a load off and just enjoy, decompress. This is definitely my decompression wine. Of everything that we make, the Merlot is the one, it's my happy place. It's the one where I can put my feet up at the end of the day and just take a sip and enjoy those nice big characteristics. So super, super happy with where the Merlot program has gone, and being able to finally share this 2016 with folks, and kind of that next step of what MTGA is and is becoming has been just, it's been so much fun, speechless. So obviously we couldn't do it without you guys, folks that have checked out our wines, in the past, and then continue to come back, and whether you're in our wine club, on our mailing list, it means the world to us. So thank you guys so much for the love and support. You guys are the best. Please, drop us a line, especially if you have any questions on our Merlot program in particular, or any of our wines. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, take care. We'll see you next time.